Yeah, there we go. Set.
Okay. So, Adam, you're on the pro side?
Yeah, I am now.
You are now. Oh, right, that's right. You just took over for Diego, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And, I came over from the Yankees, where I had plenty of experience with PlayerLink, and I know they switched over to you guys last year.
Yep.
Our GM and assistant GM came from the Yankees, so they're kind of used to where the Yankees were.
Yep.
I know where I'd like to be, but we're probably going to have a lot of the same demands that the Yankees went through last year. So
yeah, no problem. They're a great group to work with. Love those guys. We worked quite a bit with Brian Nicosia.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you guys did.
Hi guys, this is Seth here.
Hi Seth, and I believe I see Andrew on as well. And Jeff, I see you're on too, right?
Yep.
I think we have a quorum. Make sure Andrew's on before we start.
I'm on. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, got you now. Okay, cool.
Okay, cool.
So, thanks everybody for joining. I'm excited to show this to you. I'm going to run through sort of my standard game plan walkthrough for a Major League Baseball team. We don't have to follow any sort of script. I know you guys are a sophisticated group and have been on another platform before, so a lot of this will be old hat to you. And, we can kind of divert this off into, custom integrations and things like that as you guys see fit. But I just kind of want to make sure that we're all level set on the baseline and sort of giving you guys a view of, why Game Plan has sort of taken over the Major League Baseball market in terms of mobile document video distribution over the past few years. So we're sitting at 25 teams right now. And quite frankly, the main reason for that success has been the teams themselves. So I know, Adam, you had a chance to sort of see a little bit of how we operate in the off season, but essentially every year since we've started, our goal has been to really customize an application to each sport that we service. And we lean on the smart people that work within these organizations to tell us what to do with our product and how to customize it to their workflows. And so every year we meet at the winter meetings, wherever that is, obviously this year in Vegas, and we take essentially an order from all of our teams. Usually it's 50 items long every season, and we dedicate, a quarter of our year's worth of development to doing nothing but, delivering on the requests that we receive in the winter meetings to the teams by time you break camp. So in late February, you're to have the system in your hands and testing it. Any tweaks get done through spring training with our final version locked down by opening day. Okay, and then we typically won't touch the software again throughout the season unless Apple or somebody forces an iOS update, that requires a bit of an update on our end just to make sure things are functioning. Or on occasion, if there's some real burning issue that folks really want, we have done a mid-season release at the All-Star break. But the last two seasons, we haven't needed to do that. So just to give you kind of a general sense of our workflow and kind of how we incept all these ideas. So we'll walk you through the functionality here. I am familiar with the system that you're on now. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, so I'll try and draw differences where I can. But I just don't know everything about them. So What you see on my screen here, this is my iPad, so I'm just flashing it up here for you to view. We also support Surface and Android, and we're finding a lot more and more these days where the consumption is happening on phones. So we support Android phones and iOS in native format. Okay, so you can really consume this however you wish. As far as licensing goes, which I know is going to be a burning question, we're super easy to deal with there. We have a flat fee. You can have as many servers as you want for that one fee. We don't charge you extra licenses if you want to split out your majors and your minors and your scouting. It's $25,000 a year. You get hosting included with that. So almost all of our clients, the Yankees were the one last year that wanted to host internally. That's an option if you want to do that. They just approached us in Vegas saying that they preferred to not do that this year because they think we can make their life even a little bit easier. But totally an option. That's a team-specific option to have us host or you host. Okay, and that's just included in the price. We don't count users or seats or anything like that. It's just a flat fee. You get everything we have. Okay, so just to quickly walk you through the system and its features. We organize our system into documents on the left side, videos on the right side, and then a lot of these coaching options down here aren't really used super heavily in baseball. I'll focus on a couple of them that a lot of teams use. And if you want, more color on any of these other ones, just tell me. But I don't want to waste a bunch of your time. So inside of our documents, these are PDF files. I believe that's exactly what PlayerLink is doing. We can auto-sync your PDF files into your game plan system. We have custom integrations already built to Dropbox. We have hot folder integrations that we've done for teams that have an in-house analytics or file server system, and they want to just use that to sort of auto-sync things to the cloud. I believe that may mirror a little bit of the workflow that you're probably using in PlayerLink today, which may make for easier transition for you, but that's totally up to you. Our content has a concept of expiration dates on it, whether it's a video or a document. So you can publish content up, it'll land, on the device, and it will live on that device for some preset period of time up to you. So most teams are, delivering advanced scouting reports ahead of a series and expiring that content when the series is over and pushing up the next series, that sort of thing. Okay. I won't bog you down with a billion details here, but just know this can do everything you would expect it to do. You can annotate on here, you can type notes, you can draw notes. If you have a large document, for some reason we deal with a lot of NFL teams where they have 600-page playbooks and they need to navigate that through chapters and sub-chapters, you can implement that if you want to. The little voice control button down here allows you to take audio notes and store them to a page. You can share all of your annotations with other users in the system. That's configurable by you. So if you don't want to allow people to share with one another, you just disable their sharing, or you can get real granular if you want to. Say, hey, my catchers are allowed to share with pitchers, but not with outfielders. You can do that if you want to. And then you can also embed video inside of your documents if that's, I don't know if that's something you guys were doing or not, but we have that capability as well. So you can see I placed a couple video icons on here, and there's a lit up video button here. So I've just embedded, some sample video to this particular page of this document. And you can stack these things up, as many as you want on a page. Okay, you can move them around, blow them up, shrink them down, and when you're done, you just sort of throw them off the bottom of your screen. Now, were you guys using a lot of documents? Were you sending a lot of documents around in your old system?
Yes. That's a good question that I'm not going to have the best answer for, but hopefully. And Andrew, can you handle that one?
Yeah, sorry. The majority, we shared all of our advanced reports through this. So everything that were PDF reports. So we're sending a good amount of documents.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think the Rockies are our current champion. I don't know. They had thousands of documents up there at any given moment in time. But there are certain teams that go crazy with documents. There are some that just use us, really for video because the video tools are so, central to what they do every day. But we've got your document side covered, and we can integrate it into your workflow a variety of different ways is the takeaway I would give you. So if you've got a process in place today that you like, we'll sit down with you. That's what Jeff's on the phone for, and we don't have to solve this all today. But you can say, hey, we really just want to put it in these folders and have it sync up and apply these permissions. That sort of thing is what we can do.
Yeah, and we also have an API for it. So if you actually have an automated system that's creating your documents, you could tie it into the API for them to auto-publish the game plan.
Does that work for both documents and video?
Yes.
Okay, so let's get into the video a little bit. I know that's what most people are going to be really interested in. So, see, all my video is set up over here on this side. Pardon me, but which editing platform are you guys on?
You mean our video coaching system?
Yeah, you're not on BATS, right? I think you're on.
We are now. We were with Hawkeye. We're going to be with BATS for 2019.
Okay, great. So, we have integrations with everybody. That's really our core competency. It's how we launched our business. So, BATS, SVS, Hawkeye if you needed it, TrueMedia. Do you guys use TrueMedia?
We don't. We used to, but we don't use TrueMedia now.
Okay. And I'm missing one. Oh, MLBAM, of course, that's a huge one. So we can take and ingest data, from any of these systems and provide them back out to your users in a mobile format with the data overlaid on top. Okay. So BATS is our closest one because that's the majority of teams are still on BATS. So we have a super tight interface with them. We can take multi-angle out of the BATS system. So I'll give you an example of that here down at the bottom. So I've got some 3 and 4 angle. We can take 1, 2, 3, or 4 angles currently. Okay. If you notice, this one has a download error and these other ones don't. So I think this is different than PlayerLink. Again, I'm not caught up on their latest, but we do support streaming or download either way. And we give the control, again, to the team to decide. So if you want to implement something where it forces the download on everyone's device, which I believe is the PlayerLink style, you can do that. If you want to create a scenario where maybe you're creating a video on demand library and you've got 2 terabytes worth of video you want accessible to them at any time, but obviously you can't fit that on an iPad or a Surface, you can allow the user to download it or just stream it from the web. You get a whole bunch of different options here with our system. So I'll show you a quick example of how we handle, here's a 3-angle video. You can see we take the main angle up top and the 2 smaller ones here. These are in-stadium cameras from the Reds, by the way. It's why the quality is how it is. And if I wanted to bring up, say, this view here to full screen, I just double tap it and it pulls it full screen. Double tap it again to drop it down. You can see the data is showing up across the bottom here. And this is just a couple of pitches that the Reds let us demo with. 4-angle, very similar, but we just go straight quad view. 2 angles would be split screen, and 1 angle, of course, is your BAM video, and that's showing up full screen. Okay, and the way you get to this in your BATS system is when you export out of BATS, you just select the number of angles that you want. What BATS provides you with is a data file. They call it a .vdf file. That's just a simple text file that gives us the pointers to all of the pitches that matched your playlist criteria, and you just drag and drop that into game plan. And we take it from there. So we'll cobble all the pitches together, pull them into one MP4, we'll FTP it up to your server and deliver it to all your end users all in one step. Okay. In general, how much internal video versus BAM video do you think you'll be, passing around to the coaches and players?
That one's kind of tough for me to answer, having been on the minor league side, and of course we're making some changes. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, we support either one. I spend more time in one area versus another. If you know which one you're going to be doing most. We're seeing, quite honestly, more and more is going to BAM. They've just done such a better job in the past couple of years with their data. The quality of the video is always high, and now they're offering multi-angle. Although I know one of the high angles isn't so great, but it's how most teams tend to be doing it, because we can really automate that BAM workflow to such a degree it just takes all the work off your plate. I'm going to give you an example of what the BAM video looks like. So this was a playlist that was run, and I'm going to walk you through that. That's in the back of my screen here, how these playlists gets generated and how they run on a series by series basis. So this one was a simple criteria. Show me the last 2 at-bats by a certain pitcher. Okay, so you can see we've got the BAM data all across the bottom here. This data is accessible. So up on the top here, I can access this data 3 different ways. These are all just different preferences. We've heard from a lot of different coaches that they like to do it their own way, so we give them all the options that they want. You'll usually just use one of them, if you use any of them, frankly. Most people are just going through here and skipping a pitch, kind of forward and back. Okay, but if you actually want to drill in and look at what's in this file, right, you can see, okay, I just want to see the 5 pitches to JD Martinez right here, and I just tap my finger on that square, and we'll filter those down.
So can we provide that play information through the API?
Yeah, Jeff, you can talk about that a little bit. You mean from your own custom system outside of BATS or from BATS?
Yeah. Like, just to give you a little background on what we currently do with PlayerLink is we build the full playlist on our side, and then we send PlayerLink the video.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure how that would change with this system where you have that play information at the bottom of the screen. We would definitely want to take advantage of that if that's possible. But if we're building it outside of BATS or outside of your system, how do we get that play information in there?
Yeah, I think that's how the Yankees do it, don't they, Jeff?
Yeah, so we have a data format. We actually have a few data formats that will work. So, like, are you doing it through your own internal system?
Yes.
Okay. So, it's a very simple data format. So, there are a couple of teams now that are just generating that data file to go along with the video. And I can send you an example. It's pretty simple.
Okay.
Yeah, but this is, par for the course for when we bring a new team on, this sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
We don't charge for any of this work either. We just want to get it up and going. Okay, so let's look at some of the more advanced features that we have in here. So, first, your play controls. So this is frame by frame, slow motion, pause play, fast forward. All the same controls are available in reverse. These, like I said earlier, are skip a pitch forward and backwards. If you need to annotate on the screen, you can hit this little pen icon, and you get a whole bunch of annotation tools. So you can bring up like a little drawing grid and, I don't know, maybe put some shapes on here, whatever you want to do. You can type on here and type notes and talk about various things. And then if you want to share this annotation with a person or a group of people, this is your capture tool over here. So you would just simply hit that. If it's just for you, you can save it to your camera roll. Most people are doing this where they're just dropping and sharing an image as a text message to another user. And then for the real advanced users, if you want to do a full breakdown where you're talking over live video, you can actually record a telestration over the live video. And on that one, you can actually talk over it, you can draw on it, you can pause, play, zoom in, and we record all of that as a standalone movie and then allow you to send that new cut video wherever you want it to go. Okay. Is that anything you guys would use?
Maybe.
No big deal. Not a quiz. No biggie. I just trying to figure out if I need to dive in deeper at that level or not. Just know the functionality is there if you have people that end up wanting to use that. A more commonly used feature, this was developed just for baseball, was the ability to split your screen and view a couple of pitches. And so you're essentially, what I hear you guys are doing is sort of looking at mechanics behind the pitches. So that's what this thing is here, where it says files. And what I can do is I can now split my screen. So I'll turn my split screen on, and I could bring up a video or a document on the split screen. So maybe I'm watching this pitcher and I want to bring up the scouting report on this guy. right? I could split the screen with a document, read the scouting report while I'm watching the video. The more interesting use, at least for demos, is to split the screen with video. And I'll show you what you can do. This is actually pretty neat. So now we've got this picture. Okay, I'm going to pause it. So these controls down here control both. And then we have individualized controls on the left screen and the right screen. And from here, you can access any pitch that you want. Okay, so let's say I want to view, how he's throwing a four-seam fastball here. And on this side, I want to compare it to how he's throwing his changeup. Okay, so now I've got two different pitches here. And now what I can start doing is nudging these videos to line them up. And one of the things people like to do is stack them on top of each other. So if I hit this button, what it does is it lays one video over top of the other and automatically sets the top image to 50% translucence so that you can see the image behind. So now what I start doing is I take these, try and get him lined up to where he's about to pitch. And I can do the same in the background. Get this lined up to where he's about to throw a pitch. And then you can really start looking at a mechanical delta between the two when I play them together. Okay, so we're seeing a lot of that with people recording bullpen sessions and doing things of that nature to try and see, is he dropping his arm when he gets tired? Is he, tipping a pitch or that sort of thing? Okay, so let's get into a little bit about how all of this video is getting to the right people and in an efficient manner, because I know that's really central to all of this. So this is demo backend server, but this is just what yours would look like. And I have one of these ready for you to test on to your heart's content for free. No obligation. Just figured you'd want to be comfortable with it before you made a decision. So you just let me know when you're ready for it. But the way that we set our system up is a combination of users and groups. So the first thing you do is you get to group your users however you want. This is kind of a general setup: right-handed hitters, left-handed pitchers, and so on. Coaches, administrators. Again, some teams also do minor leagues right here in one server. Others prefer to split them between two servers. It's totally your call. I'd say it's about 50-50 right now on how people like to do it. So it's a total preference thing. So once you have all of your groups set up, you then start tagging your users into these groups. So in my catchers group, I just decide who's in it and who's not in it. All right, and essentially that combination of users and groups creates all of your distribution channels, which you can then run your playlist against and tell our system who to send which of your playlists to. Okay, I know that's a little bit different than how PlayerLink does it, so I just want to make sure, is that clear? Is it simple enough?
Yep, I got it.
Okay, cool. So then we get into an actual user page. I'll just show you this real quick. But we allow you to enter the MLBAM ID for the players. Okay, this becomes important, and another section here that I'm going to show you. Actually, just flip over to right now. So this button right here, where we're going to give your entire team's access to self-service video. Okay, and it's going to set this up based on who they are. So we know now who you are, what team you're on. We know who your upcoming opponent's going to be. Okay, and we can quickly pull the most frequently used queries, last 10 at-bats, last 10 pitches against, those sort of things, against your upcoming opponent, because we know who you are. So we're going to be running the query, with you as the pitcher or as you as the batter. Okay, but your whole slate of games, your whole slate of games is available to you on here. Let me get back to that screen. Okay, so right here, obviously we're in the off season, but if we went back, to when the season was being played, all the games are going to be available. They're usually available within about 30 minutes or so of the last pitch. It's pretty darn quick at this point. BAM's really upped their game in that regard. So all of this is available to everybody. It's not just available, by the way, on a mobile app. So for people throughout your front office that are sitting behind a desk most of the day, we have a web view for this. So you just go right to your own website. It's your website. You're not sharing it with other people. And you get access to every major league and minor league game played, broken down with the video and the data. Okay, so that's why this player ID becomes important, because we can really start delivering your custom video right to each player specifically in an automated fashion. Okay, now let me show you where you set up all of this criteria. So inside of our system, let's go right to the BAM stuff. This is going to be your ML BAM playlist creator. Okay, I'll show you how you do the bat stuff in just a second. So if you're wanting to pull BAM playlists, you go into your playlist creation, and then what we do is we allow you to create playlist criteria shells that you then run on an automated schedule. So essentially, if I wanted to create a new series playlist, I can title it whatever I like, and then I just choose, which type of playlist I'm making. So maybe I want to just see opposing hitters. And then you have all this different criteria. I don't want to all this stuff, but this is every permutation of every pitch you can imagine, as long as that data resides within BAM. Okay, so if you want to see last 10 at-bats that were, yielded hard hit balls from knuckle curves, right, you could do that. You can select your sort order. So you go with the default first, that most people prefer. Very few people touch this, but we had a few that wanted to toy with it. And then once you've set your playlist criteria, okay, you're not selecting pitchers or opponents or anything at this stage, but you are going to say who this goes to. So if I just want to see this criteria, and maybe this playlist only goes, to my right-handed hitters, I would turn them on to receive this playlist when it gets run. And if you want to make it work how I believe PlayerLink works, which forces the auto download on the device, you select this option. So this would give it to them as video on demand and allow the user to stream from the web or download when they want to. And this would force the download to the user as soon as it's sent to them. And you can mix up your groups and individuals however you want. Okay, so once you've created a library of these, most teams have, 60 of them plus, because there's no work to it once you have them set up. Essentially, now let's say it's getaway day, you're flying up to Seattle to play the Mariners. All your whole process is basically you're going to hit this one button. You're going to say run my playlists, and then we're going to prompt you for a few runtime options. Okay, and this is all the sort of stuff that we're getting the feedback from the league that they needed, customized to their daily workflow. So, for example, let me set an expire date for all this content for after the series is over, so I don't have to remember to go clean it up. That was a big one. So that's one of the first things we did. So if you're playing Monday through Wednesday, Thursday's your next getaway day, have this stuff expire on Thursday at midnight or something. You can set this ahead of time and have it publish later. So if you want to run this stuff but only have it published to the players tomorrow night, you can do that. Okay? Then you're going to get into, okay, we said we're playing Seattle. So I select the Mariners. And now I get a whole bunch of more runtime options. I'm not going to bore you with all this stuff. Just know each one of these things came from one of your peers in the league that said this was super important. So things like, hey, on their team, I know they're calling this guy up for the minors for our series, but he's not up on the major league roster yet. So the BAM roster hasn't reflected him, but I want him in my playlist. So you can manually add anyone you want at runtime on your team or on your opponent's team. Okay, you can select if you want to see the pitcher at-bats or not. So we can prune them out of your playlist if that's not something that the coaching staff wants to see. Okay, we also identify the starting pitchers for the series here. Okay, and we know based on who you're playing, who that's going to be. Okay, we do not run off of the BAM schedule list because we had heard that was creating some issues around rainouts and pitching changes and things like that, and then having to rerun and re-push all that data and re-download everything created a pain point for too many people. And we figured for the extra half a second it takes you to choose the starters, it was a good trade-off. Okay, so you go through all of your little run options here, and then you'll hit this button for run, and then, go get a soda or something and come back in about 15 minutes, and we will have churned out, gigs worth of video cuts tailored to each user and delivered directly to each user group that you identified with no more interaction from you. It'll just land there, it'll go to the right people, and it'll choose whether or not it auto downloads to their device or not based on how you set the playlist up. Okay, and any questions on this? This is really a core function of the system. I think we're good. You can.
I don't think so.
Okay, you can use this on minors as well, right? So it's not just majors; you can do minor leagues as well. A couple other cool little things that we put in here. Some people just wanted to schedule a full game download, so you can set this up. We'll pull the BAM schedule and say, hey, I just want a full game to be downloaded and sent to this person's mobile device after the game's over. And I don't want to be sitting around. You know, you guys don't have quite that problem being on the West Coast. The East Coast guys are like, I don't want to sit around for a West Coast game to finish up. I want to set it and walk away. And when it's finished, trigger the download. Okay, so that's something you can do here. Sidearm pitchers. This is interesting. So we allow you to choose who you deem to be a sidearm pitcher, because that criteria is not consistent across the league. Okay, and then you can, in your playlist criteria, you can select if you want to restrict to sidearm pitchers or not. But the view of who a sidearmer is gets to be set custom by you. And then in a similar vein, this similar players button, this came from a comment, I forget who it was, but somebody was saying, like, there's no point in me showing Ichiro left-handed at bats with a playlist, you know, from Jason Giambi in the playlist, right? A power hitter versus a, you know, control hitter. So you have the ability in our system to identify players, okay, and then say, hey, here's a player that has a similar swing type or attribute to this player. And then when you run your playlist, if you want to pull like last 10 at-bats sort of playlist, you can restrict the view to only the similar player you've identified so that you can see how pitchers are dealing with batters similar to the one that you've selected. Okay, and again, that's just a toggle switch. What a lot of people do is they have a similar players playlist, and then they have the exact same playlist run without the similar players button on there, so they can just see the, you know, the flat last 10. And again, because this is all automated, you can make as many of these playlists as you want, and you really don't have to worry about time and effort to get them there. And because we allow download or stream, you can really overload if you choose to. You don't have, you know, this is always a team decision. You can really overload the video that you're producing to the team because of the on-demand and streaming aspect. You really give them as much data as they can handle. Real quick on the bottom section, there are times where not everything is just run on a series by series basis, but sometimes you want to do some one-offs. So we have a custom playlist section down here. And one of the really interesting things that you can do out of this is you can set it up to run on like a recurring basis so that, let's say someone just wants a running list of their last 10 at-bats. You can set up a custom playlist and then run it on a schedule. So every night, and you know, we'll mirror your time zone. Say every night at 2 a.m., refresh the playlist to pull, you know, this batter's last 10 at-bats. So he had 4 at-bats last night. We take those, we put them at the front of the list, and we drop his oldest 4 and push that to his device. Wakes up in the morning, he's got a running list of his last 10 at-bats, that sort of thing. Okay, and you can run those in bulk or individually, however you want to do it. Now, on the bat side, so you can see here, what we've got is just a whole bunch of video folders. So these are the folders that you'll see on the iPads or Surfaces or whatever you're using. So these mimic those. Okay, and then you can set permissions on each of these folders however you wish. They will auto-generate from BAM if you're using BAM playlists. But if you want to just create a video folder for whatever reason and put MP4s in there, you can put any MP4 in there you want. And then you can just apply permissions here. And then again, you can tell it, hey, this is an on-demand folder, or I want to force an auto-download on this. Okay, and then these are the folders that you'll be dragging and dropping your BATS video into. And we have a little applet that'll run. So BATS is a Windows-based system, so we give you a little Windows applet. It sits on your BATS machine. You run your BATS query. You take that VDF file, and you literally drag and drop it into our applet all the applet is a view of all these folders with the permissions. And so essentially when you drag and drop it in there, you get one little pop-up that says, hey, do you want us to compress this video for you? Yes or no. Once you decide, then we publish it up here to this folder. We apply the necessary permissions, and then within 60 seconds, that video is now shown on the end user's device as available. Okay, so our system is syncing. I think this is another difference with PlayerLink. Our system is syncing all of the mobile devices every 60 seconds. Okay, I'll show you real quick. This is what the web view for BAM users looks like. Okay, and one of the really cool things about this is, let's pull the last game of the World Series up here. Is, okay, let's say I want to do a real detailed query here. I want to look for a certain event. So I can go into here. So first, obviously, you see the schedule. You can pull the pitches. You can filter on the players, all that normal stuff. But let's say I want to do something a little fancier. And say I want to see a pitch, and I want to see, I don't know who these guys are. Let's do Manny Machado. And against any pitcher, and let's just do his last 5 fly balls. It'll work. Let's do home runs. That's more fun. Okay, so let's say I've created some playlist here that's interesting. Okay, and there it goes. Now this little G option here. So remember, this is sitting on everyone in your front office is desktop. From here, if you want to, you can actually create a playlist out of this. So these are the 5 pitches that just match that criteria. And I can title a playlist, and I can deliver it. These are the list of those folders and the users that are in your system. So I can create a playlist, and I can deliver it right from the web without having to get into the whole game plan system if you want to do that. And what a lot of people are doing, they're actually using this as a playlist creator. So they're pulling up massive amounts of video, and then they're just, watching a video, right? And then they go back and then choose, okay, I didn't like that one, so deselect it. I'm just going to send these 3 pitches, pick the folder, give it a name, and off it goes. Okay, so it's just another way. We really like to give you a lot of options because, when you work with as many teams as we're working with, just no 2 teams seem to want to do things exactly the same way. Okay, so this is the web viewer. This is a good time to stop, I think, because this is the meat of the system. And maybe shift the conversation over to questions and custom integration discussion that I know we really still need to have. So I guess I'll try and get this thing started. Is there anything, that you're used to today that I haven't shown you yet? Because it's likely just because I've skipped over it.
I don't think so on mine is.
Okay. How about on the custom integration side, or was it already just covered by that quickie that you guys had with Jeff? Delivering documents in an automated fashion. Do you use Dropbox at all? Do you use hot folders, auto syncs, anything like that that we should be, thinking about?
No, we basically push everything through their API. So we would just want to see the documentation that you guys have for the API, as well as that file format to include the play data with the video.
Sure. Yep, no problem. And Jeff can get that over to you.
Okay.
Minors, I hear there's going to be big improvements. They claimed we met with BAM in Vegas. They said that they're going to be going all HD minors this year. I think that was met with some skepticism, but it's good to hear. And their data, quality of their data improved significantly last season. So the 2 seasons prior, it was a little dicey. In fact, they barely even had any data at one point. And then when they put it in, it was a little dicey. But last year, it improved to be really, really usable. So we're getting a ton of usage on the minor league side now. And as I mentioned at the outset, our license extends all throughout your organization. So all your minor leagues, no upcharges, everybody can use this. Did you roll this out? Did you roll PlayerLink out to your minors?
No, we're not using it on the minors here.
Okay. Well, just know you have it available. Scouts, it can be a very, very valuable tool for scouts. We have some really neat little custom options we built into the iPhone specifically that are allowing scouts to sort of record pitches right from their iPhone in game plan, chop them and route them up for sharing all within the ecosystem. How about team communication? Were you doing any sort of, SMS texting or in-app messaging through PlayerLink that you need?
No, that's not something that we used.
Okay. It's available if you need it, again, free of charge, but we can do it two different ways. So we have messaging that's inside of the Game Plan app. So I don't know, did you guys mandate the usage of PlayerLink before? Like, do you have your own devices, or is it players bringing their own devices and it's sort of optional?
We had our own devices, so every player was issued an iPad that was loaded with PlayerLink.
Okay, cool. So that actually makes your life a little easier, I think. If you guys can afford to do that, that's ideal. We're finding more and more teams are not doing that. They're having players use whatever device they have. But if you have that scenario, in-app messaging obviously works great because you've mandated the solution. This is where they're getting their video. You know that they are going to have the messaging component built in. We can also do native SMS because a lot of the travel coordinators are worried hey, I don't want to be relying on them having their nose in their game plan system if they're not watching video, right? I need them to get a text message to know when the plane is or whatever. So we have something on the user setup page where you can plug in your player's mobile device number, and you can broadcast straight SMS text messages and blast them out to the team as you need to. And the cool part about that is it'll leverage all the group structures that you created in that group screen. So if you want to just send a message out to your pitchers or catchers or, admins or whomever, you can direct blast messages how you want. I would say that's really the only other big part of the application that we see used. We have things, you can just tell me if you don't use these, but we have quizzing and surveying and performance reports. If you would use those things, they're yours. But I haven't seen many baseball teams do that. Is it fair to say you guys wouldn't be using quizzing or surveying?
Very unlikely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I won't even waste your time showing it to you. But if anybody ever gets an idea and says, "Boy, I wish we could just survey the guys on what they want for lunch or whatever," we have that functionality built in. Trying to think of what else. I think this really covers it. Would you guys like to get started with a trial system? I've got one ready. I could load up your roster in there, put the BAM IDs in, and you could test, generating and running BAM playlists and moving BATS playlists into it and things like that.
Seth, that's really kind of up to you if you want to see something.
Sure.
Okay.
You have to test it out.
Cool. Adam, do you want me to just flow through you, or what do you want me to do?
Yeah, no, that works for me. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it's already ready, but I'll save you the the boring labor time of entering your roster in there. So I'll just look it up on ESPN, pop your players in their positions, and put their BAM IDs in there for you, so you can get started without having to do the drudgery work. And then it's pretty self-explanatory, but sometimes first go round, it's helpful to have a little advice. I can kind of share how other people do things to make it as efficient as possible. Help you set up a couple playlists, and then that's usually it. This is a pretty darn easy system to use once you have it implemented. Cool. I would obviously highly recommend getting this thing tested in your hands and testing your own workflows out, before you start spring training. Things getting a little crazy around spring training time, and then we'll be there. Where do you guys do spring training?
We're in
Arizona. Yeah.
Arizona, cool. Yeah, so we'll be around. We typically, Vegas and spring training are our two big touch points. So, we can be on site, especially if you were a first-year user. A lot of times there's a comfort factor with that. With a lot of teams first-year using, I literally sat in with the coaching staff in one of their meetings and showed them, here's how to use this thing to its fullest. We're happy to do that sort of thing for you, whatever you need.
Okay.
sounds good.
Cool.
Yeah, appreciate the time.
Okay, guys, thank you so much. So, Adam, I'll reach out once I have your roster in there, give you the keys to it so you can get started, and then, just hit me up anytime if you have a question here or there. But, we